Welcome back to the Patrol Factory, continuing work on the Harrop Supercharged 6-litre GU4 Patrol. I've been ordering a bunch of parts, been consulting the Raceworks book, and got more stuff ordered, and a lot more stuff has arrived last week. It literally arrived just after we ended last week's episode too. So I already spoke about the Malex Motorsports power steering pump and bracket kit, but now we've got a AC compressor, some more random brackets, Raceworks power steering reservoir. I've actually got two to choose from, one round, one square. I've also ordered some more fittings for this to work with the standard cooler. As I said last week, we're going to run the power steering cooler through the radiator where the standard transmission cooler was. No one really seemed to have any troubles with that. I'm hoping it's going to work totally fine. I don't see why it shouldn't work. We've also got to mount the Harrop Supercharger intercooler reservoir and water pump. All this stuff has a place. Where that place is, I've got no idea, because you've got to kind of work your way through these things and figure it out as you go. The bottom radiator hose may be a bit of a pain, but we'll just see how we go. I have got a bit of pipe to weld on there if need be, but as far as it looks right now, the standard hose should work, which is a good thing. You can just pick up the phone, order some VF Commodore radiator hoses, and it will work. I've got a couple of jobs ticked off the list off camera. I got the fans bolted back onto the radiator. I cleaned the core, it was full of mud, so I gave it a good clean out, bolted everything on. I've also ripped off the valve covers and welded on some Dash 10 AN fittings for a catch can. So we're not using any of the standard PCV setup. We're just gonna run everything to a Raceworks catch can. So Dash 10 AN welded onto there. Where's the catch can gonna go? I've got no idea. We've still got to fit all this stuff up. So this episode is about plumbing, and hopefully by the end of it, we can have everything done. Maybe not the aircon. The aircon isn't too bad though. It's a couple of lines we made up, and hopefully I can just call the AC homies and they can come help out. So let's hook in, start bolting some stuff on, and figure out where everything's gonna go. Well, that didn't take long, and we've already had a bit of a hiccup. Unfortunately, the ICT billet bracket, I got all excited about the shiny things. This doesn't work with the adapter for the adapter on the air adapter. So my stuff up, I take full responsibility. I assumed this was going to work, but unfortunately it doesn't. So this is just a replacement bracket for a factory GM power steering pump, and it goes down on like this, but unfortunately hits that bracket. So it's meant to be here, and this then spaces the power steering pump out, and I don't want to get the alignment of the pulleys wrong, so we just got back onto Malex, and we're gonna get the standard GM, the standard like VE GM bracket for the power steering pump, and that will sort us out. Stoked there's good blokes like Chris at Malex around that you can just pick up the phone and he'll sort the problem out. So we're gonna send this back, get the GM one on there, but for now we'll have to wait, and we'll get onto the air conditioning instead. Having a good week. Turns out that the AC stuff's also wrong. The kind of my bad again. I suppose I probably should have checked this when it first came the other day, and now we're a few days behind. This is a bracket to work on the driver's side to mount the standard AC compressor down low, but the bracket kit we want to use is for a totally different compressor. You probably can use this to push the compressor in, but now that we've already come up with the idea to move everything onto the one side for the VF radiator for the condenser, that'll then make all the lines tricky. So scratching heads and back on the phone to order the right parts. Cars are fun.
Custom cars are very fun.
I'm going to make a hat that say, cars suck. How about that? Because they do.
No, we'll get there.
I spent yesterday Arvo sorting out the aircon and power steering debacle. Malex Motorsports are sending up a genuine GM power steering bracket express, so that should actually probably be here today. As for the aircon, the bracket that I'm getting is like 2 weeks away, so I've paid for it, it's coming, but I'll have to wait, they've got to make it, so I'll wait on that, that's all good. So instead, now I'm going to move on to some intercooler plumbing and hopefully radiator and heater hoses and stuff like that. I'm also getting the office painted today, so I've got to give a mad shout out to the bro Shane and Lex for coming up to plaster the roof. And now my mate Sebby's in here making a racket, giving it a paint job. I'm coming in with a GoPro. Hey brother, I can't see anything. Thanks, buddy. Sebby's a legend, getting the job done. Once that's painted, I can then get some carpet installed and then start fitting out the office, which I'm super excited about. Ooh, a couple of cat's bums. MTN, baby. May as well just tuck this up here while I'm at it. Oh, look at that, rust repair done, mate. Good as new. I'm mounting the intercooler reservoir to this custom washer tank that Dave has previously fabbed up. I'm using these M6x1 blind weld-ons. So after a quick run through the sandblaster, I was able to TIG those on. Harrop make these intercooler kits to suit certain vehicles, but they don't make one to suit an LS Power Patrol. So the kit we're using is just a universal intercooler kit. It comes with the heat exchanger, water pump, reservoir, a bunch of hose clamps and a length of hose. This then gives you free roam to mount the reservoir and water pump wherever you want. You just have to use your brain and then cut the hose to length. I went into the part shop and scabbed a bunch of hoses, got some old Como hoses and a bunch of just generic Z hoses, also including a YD25 Pathfinder hose, which didn't work, so I'll throw it back in the box and I'll return it to the parts store. But with those hoses, I came up with basically all the plumbing for the cooling system and the intercooler heat exchanger plumbing too. So down the front, got the water pump mounted. I haven't put any hose clamps on because I think this might have to come back out, so I've just kind of dummy fitted it. There's generic Z hose for the feed into the water pump. That pumps up into the intercooler, returns back to the res, and then the res feeds the top of the heat exchanger. As for the cooling system, factory top hose works for the VF Commodore, and the bottom hose is actually a VR Commodore hose. The outlet kind of points it towards the steering box. There's still movement, there's still room underneath it, so that one works quite well. We might be getting a swivel thermostat housing just to put the hose. It doesn't quite want to sit there. It wants to sit a little bit higher in the factory floppy form, so we might get the swivel thermostat housing on there. As for the heater hoses, I've just got a set of TD42 hoses, and what I'm going to do is actually secure them pretty well. I want to make it look neat. I don't want them running over the top of the engine, and I can't really run them through here because there's a bunch of wiring and stuff that goes through there too. So I'm going to plumb two TD42 hoses together pretty well. That comes out of the heater core. I'll pin them up here with some bracketry and then snip the end off. And then this one from the outlet, probably put some heat sheath over the heater hose here just because it's a bit close to the headers, but that is that sorted. I've now just had a delivery from Alex Motorsports again, and I have the genuine GM tensioner. I think that's actually the quickest postage I've ever received, like 1 day delivery. So thank you, Chris, you're a legend for sending that up. So now I'm going to bolt this on and bolt the power steering pump on and start on plumbing the booster and the power steering pump to the steering box. Oh, here he is, come to give the bumper a polish for me.
Today,
Come on.
Five the secret projects.
Yeah, how are you, Mitchy?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm fantastic. It's always a fun time when the postman rocks up and all three packages came at once. I've got the AC bracket, I've got a care package from Go Fast Bits, including some merch. Thank you, legends. Some of this stuff is actually for Mark's car too, so I've got a bunch of other goodies. So a couple of wastegates and fuel pressure regulators, 3 FXDs. What's going on there? Also some Raceworks goodies. So again, this stuff is also for Mark's car, but there's also a couple of other things in here which I know that I needed. There we go, flex fuel sensor, which is for the Patrol. So got a few more goodies to put on, so I think I'll get started. I'll put that aircon bracket on the car first, and then while we're at it, we might keep finishing off the fuel system, I think. Actually, change of plans. I'm going to use the flex fuel sensor out of the VF because there was nothing wrong with it, and save the new one for Mark's car. And we're going to use this fancy bracket and mount it on the firewall because this is the better option. So let's do that instead. Oh, when a plan comes together, that is so good.
The Harrop Supercharger comes pre-assembled with fuel lines that are pre-made to suit your VE or VF hardline. But in this case, because I'm using the flex fuel sensor and it's in a Patrol, I've decided to make everything from scratch using some Raceworks -6 AN lines. After that was done, I had to clearance the block for the AC compressor bracket. So I busted out the Mini Tool Pro to clearance some castings, and then the bracket can be bolted on.
Last episode, someone commented about using some hose on the drill bit. This is great practice when you're drilling into unknown territory like the dash. There could be something behind there, even though I don't think there is, but I only want to drill a little bit. So using the hose, the drill bit will stop and only go in 2 mil. So done. That is now a mount for nutcert. We'll mount the heater hoses at the top here like that. Keeping everything as neat as possible, hopefully. And then you put wiring and everything else and it looks all messy. And aircon hoses. Why does Nissan do that? It's in the middle of nowhere. No man's land. Let's cut that off. Beefcake!
With the project getting towards the pointy end, Dave's mate Tommy has rocked up and we're making a start on the wiring. We're using the VF SS wiring loom and ECU and integrating it into the car. There's quite a lot of stuff that doesn't need to be used, so Tommy is deleting all of it and then integrating it into the Patrol loom. Tommy has his work cut out for him, so I've just left him be and I'm going to continue on with other jobs. I'm mounting the power steering reservoir the same way I mounted the intercooler reservoir. This tank was a coolant expansion tank previously with the TD42, but I'm now converting it just to an overflow tank, so deleting off the radiator cap and welding on the suitable barb to suit the overflow tube, which is 6mm internal diameter.
We've been making a bunch of progress on the Patrol. By we, I mean myself, my mate Geordie, Tom, Dave's been around, and also our mate Tommy, who is currently wiring the car. Tommy is an absolute wizard. How are you, mate?
Oh, not bad. How are you going?
I'm going good, man. I'm going good. Tommy has been very busy. The biggest thing he's been doing is planning. We've got so much planning going on over here, wiring diagrams and everything. Mate, you are a wizard.
give us a rundown on what's going on here and I suppose what the end goal is by the time we're finished.
Well, I don't know about the wizard part, but what's going on here? Okay. Yeah, well, when you say planning, yes, plenty of that. So basically we've been picking through engine and transmission diagrams plus power distribution diagrams for both of the vehicles.
Yep.
And pretty much just trying to nut out exactly how everything's going to mesh together. Obviously being a late model vehicle, there's effectively going to be a lot of connections in the engine harness that are going to become redundant because we're not obviously transplanting every part of the Commodore into the Patrol, so to speak. So yeah, there's going to be a lot to delete out, but you really just have to go through bit by bit and work out exactly what needs to be kept for it to function properly and do all the right things.
Yep.
And so yeah, we've just been poring over paperwork for days and days, and we'll carry on with that. We're working on power distribution and also a bit of integration back into the original sort of body harness for the Patrol as well.
Yeah, sweet, cool. So the wiring is getting done. It's not my strong suit, so I'm definitely leaving it all to Tommy, but I've been ticking off a bunch of other jobs along the way. I've got the cooling system pretty well sorted now, so radiator stuff's all done. I've got some heater hoses, just used a couple of TD42 hoses, actually 4 TD42 hoses, so they wrap around along the firewall. We've got some Raceworks billet clamps, which are clamping it to the firewall. They actually turned out quite neat. I'm pretty stoked with that. Fuel lines are all done. That's been all plumbed with Raceworks stuff. Around the front, we ended up coming in one side and around in the back with the deadhead system. I did actually put in the fuel pressure sensor down the back here, but that is now no longer needed anymore, just because we can delete it out of the VF stuff because we're using different fuel pumps. We don't need the fuel pump control module. Catch can I've mounted over in the corner here. Had to space it out away from the bonnet. I'm waiting on some more Raceworks 100 series hose to get that done, so a couple of fittings for that. Coils are mounted. Got to get some new leads is what we've got to do. The headers aren't bolted up yet. That's a future job. What else have we been doing? Power steering stuff and the expansion tank. This was the expansion tank for the TD. We've now converted it back to an overflow, so it feeds in onto the bottom just due to some welding. I'm going to be the first to admit that I am not the best welder in the world, but I can get the job done, and what better of a vehicle to practice on than the guy who is a really good fabricator. So thank you, Dave, for letting me practice. But that worked out really well. Kind of stoked with the Raceworks power steering res there. It fits really nicely. Even the aircon line kind of slips in over the top. Aircon, we had Miller from Miller's Auto Electric Strand. We've actually got a bunch of fittings and stuff now, and we've come up with a good game plan. So now we know what to do and how the aircon's going to work. We've measured up for a belt. The longest belt I can get is a 30-10. So the belt we measured up was actually what was it, Tommy? 30-25, wasn't it?
Yeah, I believe so.
So we're hoping that the 10 mil is going to have a bit of stretch there. We can make it work. So that's on order. I've also got a few other Racework stuff on order too. The power steering lines over to the hydro boost there to get done, and the return line back to the res through the radiator. And apart from that, we've just got to keep basically now plumb and do all the hose clamps up, and once the wiring's done we can put some oil in it. Shifter wise, actually I've been playing around with the shifter, but this is probably going to be a Dave job I think in the future because it's very dark in here. That doesn't really want to work out how I want it to work out, so it might be a Dave bracket to make up something for the VF shifter. It's just got a very long, it clashes with the transfer case arm, so because Dave wants the factory shifter and wants it to basically just go P for park and D for do it and everything to work as factory, so that's why we're going to use a factory shifter. And apart from that, we've made a bunch of progress, and it's kind of looking almost complete now. It's the job's really starting to kind of come into the final stages. I've got to give a massive shout out to my mates for helping out. Geordie and the young fella Tom have been really helping me out here. It's great help having some extra hands. Tommy for coming in and putting in some solid hours to get this wiring done, and also Dave just for trusting me with this project and kind of letting me have free roam with a lot of the stuff. It's pretty cool to work on such an awesome car, and a supercharged LS Patrol is an awesome car. Speaking of supercharged, Harrop have just released their big block supercharger kit.
So that was the last project we worked with Harrop on, and now it's actually finally been finalised and released to the public. So if you were interested in a big block supercharger, everyone loves a supercharged big block. You can't go wrong. Definitely get in contact with the crew and yeah, get your big block supercharged. Dave, we're all looking at you, mate. I'm going to keep on smashing out work on the Patrol, so hopefully I'll have an episode for you next week, but if not, I have got the Crown ready for roll racing. I've never been to roll racing, so that's happening tomorrow, and the Crown actually makes a bit more power now, so thank you, Kai, for turning it up. As well as the burrito bus, I've got everything pretty well ordered for this car, although I know I'm going to have to get more parts for it, but I've got to get stuck into this thing next week too. So this is a badass car, and I'm super keen to work on that. Thanks everyone who's been taking advantage of the fire sale. We've got random shirts on sale in miscellaneous sizes, so if you want to get yourself a bargain, make sure you jump on board for that. And thank you for watching the Skid Factory. I'm having a lot of fun. I'm working my ass off, and I'm as happiest I've ever been in my life. Thanks for watching. Drive safe. I'll see you next time. Enjoy.
I've taken on your advice and I'm rolling with the voiceovers. Just free roam, no script, no worries. Whatever comes out of my mouth is what I'm posting. A little bit of TJ Jack inspiration. I quite like how it comes out. I am a little bit bogan. Apologies, but this is just what I sound like in real life. What's for dinner? Teriyaki chicken and rice bowls. Thank you, Gary Bing Chicken.
So welcome back. I haven't welcomed back for ages actually. I usually start with just start yapping.
I think a welcome back is a...
Welcome back's worthy. All right, Patrol Factory, LS Factory. Let's go Patrol Factory. Actually turn. Another useless clip. I just click record and then walk around. Don't know what I'm going to say yet, so sorry. I look like Paulie from Fat Pizza. Hey, brother. Step 1 on how to break a GoPro. Place it inside Sandblaster. Step 2, start sandblasting. Step 3, regret the decision you made, but also realise that it kind of worked. Sweet. Hope that shot was worth it.